Hello, hello. Well, it's been definitely a while. In this tutorial, I'll do something a little bit different. I'm going to show you how I do my medieval helmets, and we're going to do some sculpture and a little bit of texturing. I'll be using Substance Paint for texturing, but you can definitely use some of these techniques within Blender. Relatively, I kind of, the way I work is like I favor certain software for specific things. Anyway, so to begin, you really want to start working with scale. And what I have here is a base mesh that I used quite a lot. I've gone off of Polycount, but if you have a DAZ 3D model, Make Human model, or something off of Sketchfab, just to use as a reference, it's always good because you want to design it to fit the characters. So right off the bat, we're going to add some basic shapes, and we're going to try and figure out what eventually the helmet would look like. I, over time, have favored great helms with the kind of like the top head here, but we can try something a bit different. Maybe like there's a term for it, I think sugarloaf helmet, or kind of more rounded. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a sphere, a UV sphere, and well, relatively with this kind of stuff, maybe we can make it a bit smaller. Generally, working with less polys is easier for me. So let's try 10, 5. Yeah, this works. Okay. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna maneuver this into position, and we're gonna generally try and make it to scale. So this looks kind of neat. A couple of modifiers I'm gonna add right off the bat is a mirror, because it'll be easier just to mirror one side, and we could do a solidify just to make it a little bit more interesting. Alright, so after those two are done, we're going to add clipping. Do I have this facing the right way? Oh, is it because of this guy? Yes. Alright, so we're going to delete the first half like this. Nope, faces. I keep doing verts. And faces. And now, when we take a look, it's what we want. I'm going to also get rid of this, the outer layer here, and we have a bowl on his, or this character's head. Alright, so what we're going to do next is select the edges around. The way I do that is Alt-Shift-Click, and then we can either just drag it all the way down, and it's an elongated bowl. We can also, once it's like this, we can rotate it slightly to give it more of a dynamic edge. We can also go into wireframe mode and see where this helmet kind of like encompasses around. Kind of looks cool. So we can kind of drag it in slightly. You can see when we go to the side, it's a little bit of a tight fit. Bring this slightly forward, and there we go. Congratulations, you're finished. Alright, so where do we go from here? Well, we can kind of think about where this character is going to see from. So if we go to this view, we kind of want maybe like the eyes, or the eyeballs. So you look through a visor, that's around there. Alright, so once this is done, what I end up wanting to do next is either creating a plane or separating some of these planes here, because the way the helmet's constructed, rather than having it all in one piece, you want it in different sections, and you can place rivets where the intersections are. And I personally find that gives it more believability. If you look at some medieval helmets, you can kind of tell these were created in different pieces. For example, I can tell you that you can probably separate this piece and separate this piece on top, because the way this is going to be, it's going to be hammered in, and then there'll be like little rivets here, or like they're trying to like, I'm unfamiliar with the terms, so there'll be like yeah, like tiny rivets, or the equivalent to that, right there. I kind of wanted to like bring the scaleless in, but something is acting a little odd here. And I think the reason for that is because of the mirroring. But that's alright. Okay, so we have this separated. We can also separate this bit here. So you'll see what is happening. And then, now, since this is good to go, I can probably put it like this. Go here, delete this, faces. And you kind of see that this piece, if we remove this piece, this person, oh, this individual still has a helmet. And this also gives room for you to experiment with different kind of like face plates, weights can be attached. So, going from here, we can add like a little bit of a nose piece, like this, just to give it that cool aesthetic flair. I kind of want to bring this up slightly, hit E to extrude it out, bring this a little bit forward, and this is where you can put like bolts or something where this piece can be bolted on. And that's how I generally like to think about things, of like how can this be easily removed, placed on, removed. If I want to make it more comfortable, I would probably put like a leather padding around here on the edges, or maybe bevel these edges. We also have access to this being solidified. So if I do this on each piece, this is a really chunky, heavy thing, so we don't want it to this degree, but we want it a bit slightly. So if I offset it, no, I think that's what we need. Yeah, so I think this is a good value here. Yeah. Alright, that's good. So you can kind of see how these pieces are. I almost, looking at this, I do want to separate the top piece. I think that'll look a little bit more interesting. Or if I was going to separate this, it would be like, yes, that would be more interesting, because then you can put bolts here. Okay, so we're starting to build some sort of cool, believable thing. We want to also shape this all to be smooth, and it's going to look a little funky. And don't worry about that. And the reason for that is we need to enable the auto smooth tool, which is in the normals property. So then it will render more or less what we have in mind. Auto smooth, I don't think. Oh yeah, we should 80. Alright. 80. 50. 30. That's kind of neat. It gives a bit more edge. That's fine. Alright. So here we have our helmet. It's kind of like very basic. You can play around with it a bit more. I mean, this is again for demonstration purposes. We're about 8 minutes in. Just looking at the time, I don't know. Make this the main focus is like how to model helmets here, but I'm just basically want to show you the process of how I think and the design elements that go into it, because then you can definitely take the core of this and build from it. So I'm just gonna, maybe for my sake, we can add like a little bit more interesting elements to this. And by interesting, maybe add this, bring this up so it's a little bit more. Interesting like that. Did generally want this to be a bit more interesting too. I could just bring this forward like that, bring it up. And then you can like bring this down. You can see there's a gap here, which is fine. You can bring this. You can start to think about like, okay, so there's a gap here. What can I do? Well, you can kind of like maybe flare this out a bit. Flare these out, come back here. Maybe try and straighten this like that. So how does this hook in? Does it bolt in? Is there something like a little slide? Does it clip that way? Same thing here. I kind of like doing this slightly. And the reason for that, this is just my own reasoning here, is like if a sword comes in, it'll like hit this middle bit, or it'll get caught here. Or if they're trying to like stab in, there's less of a chance they're gonna try to stab directly, like clink, hit down or something. That's just my reason. It could be completely false. I don't make helmets, but in real life, but and again, this front piece here, there's a lot of work to be done here, but once you more or less have this done, we're just gonna merge. Yes, we're gonna merge all these guys together, and then we're going to apply it as a base mesh, and then we're gonna make a multi-res mesh, and then we're going to sculpt a little bit on it. Okay, so once you have something done, a good practice is just to always make a new collection, call it backup or something. Duplicate all this, duplicate it, move this out into new collection, call it like low poly, hide this, and then merge this together. Apply all of this is our... Alright, and you can see our helmet, very basic, very basic. We also want to hit scale, because we want to make sure that everything's all zeroed out nice and correct. And then afterwards, we're going to go to add modifier, multi-resolution. And then we're going to subdivide. You can see it adds a little bit of funkiness to it. And the reason for that is because we don't have any supporting loops. You can see our base mesh is fairly simple. We can fix that by adding supporting loops. This is what they are. It's just basically telling the subdivided mesh, like, hey, don't round it out too much. Just put them around the edges here. And it's the same as basically beveling as well. So we can add that. So if we go back to it, you can see it's tightening the edges now. And so we just got to do that for the corners here. And it's also dependent how close you come to the edge here. I don't like them to overlap a bit, but I just kind of want like a small little, what do you call it? Like a, just a bevel edge. So you can kind of see we're fixing all that up. And we can move these things around. It's completely fine too. Just move that here, move that here, move this here, like here, 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 here. Kind of see. Sometimes I do like the wonkiness a little bit, because I like to imagine that this is made by some sort of apprentice blacksmith or something, and this world that this apprentice blacksmith is in, they're like starving for, you know, armor or something, either because there's an ongoing war, or just because they haven't figured out how to make anything aesthetically pleasing. I don't know, it's some sort of like grit to it. It's the primitiveness of it is kind of appealing to me. It's like very functional. That appeals to me. Oh man, some of this it's kind of getting a little too much for me here. I didn't really plan to design this helmet, but that's kind of neat, eh? This little thing here. Alright, cool. So we basically have our hilarious helmet here. I'll probably scale this out. Scale this out a little bit more. A little bit more. Okay, so we have our funny little helmet here. We subdivided this, so I'm just going to keep subdividing. Maybe take a look here. This is currently at 100,000 faces. Let's just bring this up to, yeah, 2 million. Okay, that should be enough resolution. So we go into sculpting, and then we can start like adding dents. We can start adding rivets. I have a small pack of brushes from way back that I will load up. Stylized brushes blender. And where are you? So these are really helpful. I recommend definitely purchasing some brushes. It really helps speed up your conceptual designs and iteration, and you can get really good textures fast this way. Feel free to make your own too. I haven't really got into brush making just yet because I end up either just enjoying the way these look to me, and I've kind of grown familiar with how some of them are. I'm just going to click some random damage ones. I really don't think too much in terms of which ones to grab. I like all the detail. So that should be relatively okay. So hit append, go here, and they're going to load up all the thumbnails, but if I scroll up, you can see they're loading now. And so, alright, so let's just pick this one, and then we can slowly start sculpting. You can see that it's appearing, and I just kind of like throw it all around, just like just very fine, tiny detail around. You can see I'm not really thinking too much of where things are. You can spend an eternity trying to figure out which textures and which brushes you need, what kind of sculpt. You can really get carried away. But when I do these type of things, I'm just like rushing it like this. I'm like, all right, the apprentice is just battering the helmet with a hammer, just battering it, bam, 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 like just right there. Look at that, boom. All right, and then we're gonna maybe lower the strength a bit. I don't want that to overpower the texture too much. And like, yeah, bam, 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 hammer, 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 hammer. Hammer, 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 big hammer, small hammer, all the little hammers. Alright. And then, alright, this thing's seen battle. Oh no, charged, maybe get smacked, hit, arrows flying. Be careful of this. Smooth that out a bit. You know, a little bit of damage here and there. Just adds a little bit of, you know, realism. Not realism, what am I saying? Believability, at least to me. I don't like the pristine look. I like when things have a bit of character to it, or use. That's the thing. This thing has a lot of use to it. So add a little bit of that. Looks like, you know, this helmet fell off and hit a bunch of rocks or something, or a cannonball blast, or you know. This is a little too strong for my liking, so we're just gonna lower it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And just like a little dents. Who knows what else this thing might have seen? Rocks kicking up, maybe, you know, like slung on the side, hitting some rocks. I keep saying rocks. It could be something else too. And then in a duel one day, you know, it's like sword slash, smack the head on the side here. Wasn't too fortunate with that. I know, you know, most people do the cliche like, yeah, eyeball scar, but not today, not this fella. Alright, do that. What else can we add here? What does this look like? Oof, it looks almost like an arrow. I'll throw a couple of these here. This helmet has seen so much battle. It's almost, in a sense, what's funny is like when you pick up legendary items in video games, like, yeah, this was used by a hero, and now it has these, you know, these buffing properties, and they look pristine. I think it would be a bold statement if you picked up a weapon or armor in an RPG or action RPG game, and it just looks rough. Like, it's just seen so much, and like, yeah, of course it's rough. It was used by the hero, you know? A relic kind of thing. I think that would be awesome, at least, just to see something different. Alright, so I'm just going to put bolts around here. I am using the symmetry tool, X tool up here, and I'm just going to go around. And you can see the resolution's a little small, but you know what? Again, like I said, it's fine for this purpose here. If I was going to spend more time with it, I would definitely like do a proper model, or whatever that means. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this, kind of rotate slightly around, so it's not too samey. That looks kind of neat. What else can we'll probably put on the side here. Just show you, like, you just bolt it in that way. Kind of want to have one here. Oh yeah, and around here, maybe it's a different type of thing. Maybe it's this. Whoop. Sure. Why not? I kind of want something over, like, part of me wants something over here. Like imagine if the sheet metal extended over here, so you can, like, kind of get a little bit of that action going on. Whoop. And yeah, just have it all across here. Alright, it's starting to grow on me. It's starting kind of funny looking, but it's slowly, it's growing on me. Excuse me. Allergy season. Do we want some spikes? Bleep. Look at that. Demonic. No, we don't want that. We want... I feel like we need something else here. I want a symmetry on. Alright. I think that is almost good to go. I'm just going to do one last thing, and this is the sharp tool. I kind of just like adding it a little bit of dent like that. It's like the bolts or the medieval screws were really pressed in, you know, like there's no washers or something underneath this, and this was just like dug into the metal. The reason for this is because I really like it when we get to texturing it. This stuff will show the cavity really well, and it looks like this bolt was like just forced in there. Like you can feel the force of like bam in it. And like I really like that when I see some models. It just adds some character to it. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. And you can kind of see, like, again, I'm not really a sculptor. Like, I haven't really sculpted too much in Blender or in general in terms of 3D stuff. But I'm slowly getting to it and enjoying doing this stuff here. And then the reason why I want to show, like, a process of this stuff is, like, you can see, like, it's, you know, once in a while you'll get caught up with trying to get too perfect with it, and it's all about the creation process and having fun with it. And I think that's where you make your best work, is when you're just really enjoying the process and the medium for what it has to offer. And I generally really stick by that. I think given enough time, anyone can do this stuff. I mean, in terms of like what your goals are, I believe if you keep working a little bit every day, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, reading something up or just theorizing about it, you can definitely achieve these sorts of things. Especially with information out there. It's insane. Okay. So we have our helmet here bolted together. So we're going to have to export two models out. We're going to export the high poly, low poly, load those up, bake the maps. The good thing about the newest version of Substance Painter is you don't really need to unwrap this. If it wasn't Substance Painter, you'll have to unwrap it, and there's like a lot of other videos based on that. But this is purely a Blender to Substance Painter. So we have our high poly and low poly. So I need to actually duplicate this guy, or actually move this fella. Let's go HP. You got to keep things really neat, you know. And I'm just going to label this HP Helm. Oh, Helm. And I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to remove this so it's back to its base mesh. I'm going to move this back to LP. Actually, the thing is, I want to conform the... Where is it? There is shape. I'll have base conform. So we're doing this, apply base. And then I want to... I think I can duplicate this now. I know there's a better way to do this. I bet someone in the comments is going to say that. Okay, then we're going to remove this. We have our base mesh here. Oh no, I messed it up. That's not good. Don't look. Don't look, guys. Don't look. Don't look. Oh god, I shouldn't have done that. Alright, hang on. We're learning. Alright, let's back up a few cycles. Alright, this is what we need. Let me just take a look. Yep, okay. So this is our low poly. So we're gonna do this low poly helm and export this out as let's FBX this, and we go to my naughty named folder, helmet. Go in here, new model, and here LP helm. Copy this. Go to selected objects, very important, and export this out. So that's the low poly helmet. Click here. I'm gonna apply this. Hopefully my computer doesn't explode. It does not. Export this out. FBX HP helm. All right. Selected elements. Copy this. Export. And so we have our low poly and high poly model. I see that we're at 26 minutes. Sorry, guys. Thought I could do this faster. Just gonna wait for this model to export a bit, so I might pause it over here. If it pauses. Nope. I guess my hotkey is broken. Alright, so this is great. So the next thing to do is boot up Substance Painter. We're going to import our low poly. It's going to auto unwrap, import the high poly, bake the meshes so that it takes all the low poly, high poly sculpture detail, and then we just apply smart materials on it, and we're done. So we're going to do new. This is fine here. I tend to import things to Unreal Engine, so that's, completely fine for me. I'm going to select our model, since I already copied it. Low poly. This option is available for the 2021 or like the recently acquired Adobe Substance. Auto unwrap, everything's good here. We don't need to use the UV tile workflow. I mean, you can use it if you want. This just separates it onto an atlas, but that's another thing. We're just going to use the auto unwrap one texture 2480 2048. All right, so we're going to hit OK. It's going to import our base model, so we can see it here. Wow, very cool. And it's, it has a, as you can see here, my fault. It has a UV map. So that's a really good thing to note. If that happens, you just have to delete this and export this out again. Selected, apply, LP, and export this out. Gonna re-import it in, new, everything's good here, low poly, okay, discard, and you can see here it's auto unwrapped it. This is great. Alright, the next step, what we need to do is import our high poly, and to bring that is we just have to go into the texture settings, go down to bake mesh maps, 2048, click this, bring in our high poly. Max for these are just like normal map cages stuff. I kind of like putting it at, you have to play around this because sometimes like the normals can act a little weird if the model's been pushed away. You might see it happen here, but it's going to bake selected textures, and it's going to start baking the normals, the cavity, the ID, basically everything we need to model this. So you can see there that it did. All right, let's take a look. Are there any baking errors? It's not too bad. I always find normal maps magical. Alright, so here is our helmet. We have all our maps here too, so we can start just dragging. So the cool thing is we can just start dragging things. Let's just find something here. I do have a few packs, but I'll try to remember the default ones. I think there's one called Iron Forged, which I like. Steel Rune kind of looks neat. Let's just throw that on. That's kind of a little too much, eh? Let's see. Iron Old. Ooh. Kind of like that. All right. Iron Old. What's this look like? chrome blue. Very cool. Okay, so we're gonna mask the chrome blue out to create like edgeware with this, because I do like the way this looks. And to do that, we're just gonna click add black mask, add generator, click on here. Oh, it's empty, so we need to add a generator. And where's the generator? Oh, here you go. No generator selected. Curvature map. You can see like it's adding a little bit of the curvature of this material, so I can hide it, bring it back. You can see it's adding really nice colors here. You can play around with the blur. I generally like keeping the blur low. You can bring the balance up to see what's happening. Bring the contrast up so it's like really like in forward here. Kind of like bring this like it's hard to explain. Like the balance is basically how much of the texture you want, and the contrast is like how sharp it looks. Because you can see it becomes really sharp here. I kind of like a little like midway like that, and I like to just show enough that it's showing some of these beautiful hammered indents, which result in something like this. And then we can keep building and building and building up. So if I add like a bronze like this, it's gonna show all the bronze. We can add a black mask, and we can actually paint the mask. If I select this is a selection tool here to select where I want to paint it, and if I just click on the mask, which I believe is this. Oh no, that's not the mask. This is the mask. We can just kind of like paint it gold that way, and we can do the same thing where we can we have to put it in a folder to be able to add the curvature. So if I put this into a folder and then add a black mask on this folder, you can see it's isolated here. Then add a generator and add the generator as a curvature. You can see I can make it pop through a little bit. You can invert it too, which I am going to do because that looks pretty cool. And just have it kind of like seep through like that. Crying gold. And here it is. That's pretty much it. You can throw in different lighting scenarios just to see what the model would look like. Sometimes some look a lot better in different lighting situations. This one kind of looks cool like this. That's kind of neat. I really like the way that looks. But there you go. Basic process of how to import, how to model a helmet, have it in parts, have the Substance Painter auto unwrap it, and then texture it in Substance Painter. That's what I said. Yeah. Alright, thank you. Thank you. Stop recording.